Thanks for having us here. We're really flattered to be here at the ITB at the e-travel stage and to share some of our ideas with you. But before we dive into the content, allow me to answer 3 questions you might have in mind. So who are we, what do we do, and why are we here? So, as introduced, my name is Philipp Hillenbrand. I work at Campsy, but I work for one mission, and the mission is to make it easy to search, find and book a camping vacation online. And this is what Campsy is all about. And you might think, okay, get a camp, Campsy, what is this now? We started the idea of doing exactly that, building a booking platform roughly at the same time, more or less a year ago, Get a Camp and Campsy. And we decided now a couple of weeks ago to join forces to do this together, because it's much better, of course, to win this together than to compete against each other. And yeah, Fabian is the founder of Get a Camp, and we make this a split presentation. So why are we here? Of course, the trigger was the winning of the competition of Get a Camp, but the ITB then approached us and said, hey, there's a lot of noise now in a market that has not been moving for decades. It seems like there's a disruption theme going on. Can you answer the question, how are you actually going to disrupt the camping market? And we said, yes, of course we can answer that, easy one. But to disappoint you, it's not true. It was a lie just to have a fancy title and to trick you in here, the audience. But at least we can share some thoughts about it, how we think that through digital we can make a better experience for our customers, which are, of course, the travelers, but as well the campsites. And some learnings we had during the last 12 months, what might be of help for you as well, whatever you do. So, it all starts, of course, with a need. We are campers. We love to be in the outdoors, and you might be surprised, but it is really difficult to ensure that you have a great spot on a great campsite. We want to make that easy, so that was the need, but a need that converts to a business needs, of course, a sizable market. And we had a look at this, and we were surprised, and I hope you are surprised as well, that this is a huge niche, at least. It's a 23 billion market worldwide, 23 billion of revenues every year just in camping nights. So we said, okay, there is a need, there's a huge market, not very original, but digital, of course, can help always. So why don't we use digital media and a platform to fulfill that need? Yeah, and this is what we then did. And let's first start a bit with the market, because it's often very underestimated how big camping actually is. And I said 23 billion. If you look at just Europe and you compare the verticals, and you compare to rental cars or cruise ships or cruise travels, it's more or less the same size just in Europe. So just in Europe, it's a 9 billion market per year. And yeah, of course, hotels and so on, and then airlines and airline tickets is still bigger, but it's very intuitive if you see these numbers that there is a business opportunity in that. So what is the current status? And that is really surprising with a market of that size. You still, if you want to go for a camping weekend or maybe longer vacation trip, you still have to, for example, buy printed guides, call campsites, write them emails. Campsites don't work in off seasons, many of them, so they don't answer your emails, they don't get on the phone often because they are, well, not working at that time. There are, of course, a couple of listing sites, but you can judge by yourself if that looks like 2017 or more like 97. It's fairly difficult to find a good spot and to really then get your place at the campsite. And it's virtually impossible to book it online, especially across borders. The other thing is, of course, you can just go and drive with your car or with your bike to a campsite, but then you have the problem, which is here nicely illustrated. Yeah, there is a queue before you. So one campsite might be then already booked out. The other one does not fit your needs because it's maybe the one that you exactly don't like. It depends, of course, if you like a big one or a small one, whatever. It's just the wrong one normally when you arrive to a campsite. So clearly from a consumer perspective, this can and should be better in 2017. And then we said, okay, then let's do it better. How is better looking like? In our minds, it's looking like that. So a booking platform is nothing different than a marketplace, and a marketplace has, of course, always two parties. So on the left side, it's the consumer, so the traveler, and on the right side, it's the supplier that offers the site or the rental accommodation, whatever it is, so the campsite. And the trick is to make it work for both and to have a clear value proposition for both, which is of course naturally different because the needs are different. So on the consumer side, I already mentioned it, what we want is with very few clicks that a camping vacationer can search, find and book exactly the campsite that suits his or her needs, and these depend often on how you travel. So if you're traveling with a tent or an RV, or you don't have any of that and you just want to rent maybe a cabin, whatever. So this needs to be suited to the different segments and needs to be easy. But this is only half of the recipe for success. The other side is, of course, the campsite. And there you need to ensure that they use it and see it really as something which is not just an incremental cost, but a huge incremental benefit in terms, for example, of reach, to getting to new segments in a more efficient way, but as well to make the administration of that thing easier, for example, or to price it better. So, and then if you can combine that, then you are really in the winning space. But how can you combine it? By framing it with the right skill sets and building this from within. From our perspective, what are these skill sets? So there is something about getting to customers, so that they know who you are, what you do, and why it's great. This means, of course, you need the right digital marketing capabilities, the right channel mix, and you need to get through these channels to the customer segments. But on the same time, you need a strong offline brand, because it's a very traditional offline to online market. As there is nothing there, people don't look for it in the digital space. Once they know it is there, they go there. But so there is a need to combine these channels, offline and online, from our perspective. Of course, for the campsite, it has to be something which, as I said, improves and enhances their operation. So here, time efficiency is something, to spend less time in finding the customers and then getting them to book on my campsite, but as well to improve the efficiency of how I administer and manage my campsite. Then on the lower bar, what is as well important, you need the right content, so that it is what we call a reliable, rich and relevant experience for the customer. So it's not about like thousands of tools and framing it with what you can do, because you can do a lot, but finding exactly the right contents at the right time so that you create a user experience which, as I said, is relevant as well. And then, of course, we want to have in the future hundreds of thousands of bookings per year, but it still needs to be a very personalized experience, and you only are able to do that if it is data-driven, so you know the big data buzzwords. But I'm a real strong believer in creating the right data environment from the beginning, so that when we have these segments, these different segments, can address them in the right way. So if I send a newsletter, which is the same newsletter to 100,000 customers, this is not the right way. It should be not maybe 100,000 different newsletters, but you could do that with the right data environment. So we want to know, data-driven, who the customers are, what their needs are, and not spam them with what we want to sell, but really to make their lives easier. And this is what we have a lot of focus on from the start on, so to build a data warehouse and to connect it to the right channels. So this is the end game. I hand over to Fabian to listen a bit more about what we learned along the way, because it was not always easy and we learned a lot.
Yeah, thanks. What we have seen right now is a perfect ideal how a marketplace for camping in the end can look like. What I want to show is a little bit what our approach is and how to get there. And after that, I come to the learnings from the last year. So right now, Campsy offers a digital solution to boost supply customer relationships, so between campsites and the campers. So what we want to do along the way is right now changing the way customer experience camping. So we're not there. I think we haven't reached the perfect product market fit, but we're on a good way. And when we have reached product market fit for campers and campsites through a really convenient process that includes all the parts from PMS integration, APIs, integrating after-sales stuff as well. So it comes out that it makes comparable and valid data. That helps campsites as well to develop a market customer fit. And this is an approach in the end, so a digital solution can make a market better, and it make more attractive, more accessible. So, and this is part of a perfect product market fit in the end, that you make the market better itself, and that you make the customer experience of that market better itself. So after that, there comes out a knowledge about the individual needs of the campers, and even everybody, the providers, the supply, everybody has that knowledge after that. So he can make better products itself. So a better offering, you can have better devices to guide the customer, you can have a much better service and a much better user experience. And in the end, of course, it comes to the place that we want to develop further products to fit to that customer and product, customer and market fit. So, but looking back on the last year, so 3 of the most important learnings where we have made mistakes and where we have learned a lot out of that mistakes are: don't underestimate emotional barriers in a niche market. So this is not about you have big camping chain, you're getting there and you're easy stepping in. These are all individual, fragmented owners of campsites, and they have very individual needs and very individual thoughts of digitalization. So ask before you act, and listen, listen, listen. You will see that on every slide, on every of the learnings. Listen to the users, listen to the customers on the supply side and on the user side. It's all about listening, on asking questions and listening to their needs. Take your supply by the hand, educate them, be quite carefully with influencers and opinion leaders, and take off some speed when you feel a strong resistance, and just step back, think about it, what can you change, what can you do better. So don't make compromises in customer satisfaction. Customer is always right until you prove him wrong. So listen, listen, listen again, and your product needs to fulfill the customer's needs. So this is the most important thing. Not what you think is the best product, the customer needs to think it's the best product he gets. And of course, focus on the product market fit before you accelerate growth. You can have 1 million customers easily with performance marketing on your website, on your platform. It's just expensive, it's not difficult. But if the product is not right, if you can't hold what you promised to the customer, if your USP is not there, it's not worth a thing. So make sure your product, you kill the pain points the customer has, and then you can accelerate. If it fits and if it works out, you can accelerate and you can really concentrate on having more users. And 3 things we would do again, exactly how we did. We did very early create an awareness on the supply side and on the customer side for the need. So normally on the customer side, you don't need to, because there's a pain point you kill with a product. That is the perfect thing. But on the supply side, especially in a market that is highly underdeveloped in digital matters, you need to start building a network right from the beginning. You need to partner, you need to get into the association, you need to talk to people, and don't avoid any discussions. They will blame you, you destroy them, you kill their business, you want to rip them off. Don't take off that discussions. You need to talk to them, and you need to figure out what are their fears, and how can you maybe react on it, and just to kill that fears. The next thing, balance between a solid foundation and a super fast execution. Because you can, MVPs are really great, but don't miss the time to think on a long run. So your product, once you have an MVP where you can prove that the business case is working or the USP is out there, you have to concentrate that the product is not working only for the next 3 months, it has to work for the next 3 years. So start to really build a solid technical base for it. And the last point, you have to take big risks very early, and you have to correct and adopt it really quickly. So right in the beginning, you have to throw a lot into the market, and you have to look how it takes out. And if you see it doesn't work out, change. Don't think you have the right thought about the product, because you have not. If the customer doesn't attract to it, you didn't have the right thought. Your product is only as good as the customer uses it. So react on it and really change things very, very quickly. And again, listen to everybody who should use your product later on. So this is pretty much the most stuff we have experienced. So major mergers. We have made some mergers, so it's the second time Campsy has merged to a company. So they make you strong very fast if you integrate in the right way. And I think we do it very good at the moment, and we are on the way to a really great product right now. So thank you very much for listening, and happy to have questions now. And of course, we are very happy to have a small booth as well, just across the hallway, so come around 123. So if you have questions later on or want to discuss something about the product, just approach us, please. Any questions? All right, we have a microphone.
Will you expand outside of Germany? And
yes,
when?
We have already. So
Okay.
we are in the Netherlands and in Germany at the moment. In a couple of weeks from now, we will be in France, Italy, and Spain. And this is then just a starting point because it doesn't stop in Europe. There's a lot of camping going on as well overseas in Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, US, and Canada. And in that order, we're going to expand.
Great. Congratulations.
Any other question?
Thank you. What are the demographics of your main users on the user side? Because I understand there's been a problem with the whole technology in the market in general, but are the users ready to use that? Because a lot of the traditional campers are older.
So short answer, yes, they all are. Even if they are a bit, let's say, in the older ages, they all use smartphones. They love to use their apps, and they have been really waiting for that in the user test. But then to answer it a bit more granular, there is not that one user demographics. We have identified 15 segments with total different needs. So people that live in the metropolitan areas and want to go camping with the family for the weekend, versus people that have a RV for $500,000 that go through Scandinavia, for example, is a total different segment. We have identified 15 of them. We focus on 5 of them with as well very different demographics.
And to give you a very clear answer on that, what we experienced in the first year, we had a very, very clear picture of who will use and who will be the early adopters of that product. And we were totally surprised because we had the youngest user or the youngest booking from a 13-year-old girl who really tried to book online for a group of 5 persons, up to a user who was 82 and who was using the platform. So we were totally surprised. It's going through all the ages, and so it's just because it's killing a pain, and this is the most important point.
Okay, if I could just ask one more question, please.
Sure.
So are the campsites quite reactive, and do they confirm the reservations quite quickly, or is there quite a long time between using the app and the confirmation?
Well, last year we did a loop. So last year it was at most 24 hours, but we reduced it on average to under 2 hours on the reaction of the campsite. So right now we are differentiating in instant booking and on requests. Requests will still have a period at maximum of 24 hours, and the instant booking is instant, as it's called. So you get the request right when you have pressed the booking button.
Okay, and the campsites stick to that, do they?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's totally approved of that.
More questions? We're happy to answer everything. So, thanks. Thanks a lot.